Hello everybody, and thank you for turning into this video. So today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite hobbies in the world, which is tabletop role-playing games. I'm going to mostly be talking about Dungeons and Dragons because that's the one I've probably played the most. In specific, for this video, I'm going to kind of talk about how I build characters and the types of characters I like to play in role-playing games in general. So I'm going to post links to two different content creators. One you've probably heard of, which is called Critical Role, where a group of voice actors get together, and one of them is a DM, Dungeon Master, who leads another group through Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's very famous and it's very entertaining to watch. So if you're interested in kind of seeing how Dungeons and Dragons is played, you can see them, and it's very good. The other content creator I'm going to link down below in the description is Bumbling Through Dungeons. Is a friend of mine, is a channel a friend of mine created, and they put out tons of videos. I think it's been about once a week so far of content that will take you from first getting into D&D all the way up to maybe some more advanced topics like, different scenarios you can play, how to be a DM, how to build a character. So if D&D and role-playing is something you're interested in, going to either one of those links will help provide a lot of great content for you to look through and, ease your way into it, no matter how advanced or beginner you are. So with that out of the way, I want to say that I started doing role-playing, like tabletop role-playing games, probably in the 8th grade. And it was a little hectic at first, right? Because I was a little bit of a social outcast. But when I started playing, it was during the school lunch, and just found a group of guys playing, and I was trying to find groups of people to hang out with, so I wanted to play with them. It was a little slightly awkward because I think me at that time was awkward, so I kind of went about learning D&D a little bit differently than them. So I went and got like the monster manual first instead of the player's guide, and I kind of got a little made fun of that, but overall it wasn't a bad experience. It was a little disheartening at first, but I was still playing with people. Now I played with some variation of that group until 9th grade when I moved, and then I pretty much didn't play throughout my high school year. I didn't get back into the role-playing scene until after high school. So I was looking for things to do. It was after high school. I had graduated before college, so I was looking for things to do with my summer. I happened to find this online forum, and one of the sections of that online forum hosted a long-running role-playing game. In this case, it was based around Star Wars, and I joined them, and it was a lot of fun. So that's kind of like where I got back into it online. I didn't start playing Dungeons and Dragons again until maybe 7 years ago, which was probably 5 years after college, where I got with a group of people from work and I started playing Dungeons and Dragons again. And I still enjoy it, still have fun. I've hosted one-shots, I've DM'd, I love playing still. We have a group that still meets once a week. So yeah, Dungeons and Dragons has been just this fun thing I get to do. And one of my favorite aspects of it is character creation. Now, when it comes to games, I typically especially video games, when they have you create characters like a Mass Effect or a Dragon Age Inquisition or a Skyrim, is that I generally base the first character I ever create kind of on myself and how I feel I would exist in that world. So they're almost always bald in some form or fashion. They're big. They're generally carrying two-handed weapons. They're just going to waylay somebody. And, you know, kind of like a barbarian. And in fact, the first character I ever played was a barbarian. And I still enjoy that template. Probably my favorite character I've created is a barbarian. Not the first one I created, but a different one. So, yeah, that's generally how I play games first. And when I'm getting in with people, those are kind of the roles I play. Some because it's kind of expected, because it's kind of known that I play those type of things. So I kind of get into the tank, big, burly, two-hand wielding weapon monster type character. But one of the things I love to do with characters is I'll play them kind of like myself, so a little bit of me mixed into them. But I also enjoy playing characters that are almost a complete 180 from myself, because there's a chance to just explore and try and be somebody else. And I also enjoy putting personality quirks into my heroes. So the first character I ever made was a barbarian, and he was a barbarian who had a cat that he believed was a god. So he worshipped this cat, believed it was divine, which actually is kind of similar to the last barbarian I played as well. So the last barbarian I played was someone called Thorin, the Thunder Tamer. It was actually he's actually my favorite character. He's based loosely off of a combination of Thor and the Hulk mixed into a barbarian. But instead of thinking something else was a god, he thought he was himself a god reincarnated. And whenever he went berserk in a rage, it was his godly power showing. So he was very boisterous character, very chaotic but good. He definitely believed in doing the right thing and helping people out, even if sometimes it didn't always work out the way he wanted to. He accidentally killed a few things that he maybe shouldn't have, but you know, it happens. Let's see. But yeah, I like adding personality quirks. When I played that Star Wars game I mentioned before, I was playing as a Dark Jedi actually, and the personality quirk for that character, Xavier Kolarn was his name, was that he was a Jedi Padawan. He fell to the dark side, killed his master, but his personality quirk was that he tried so hard to be this great, unnerving Jedi that as the dark side slowly corrupted him, essentially he gained a dual personality, a very kind of ostracized, unempathetic person, and this very monstrous, dark, evil kind of entity. And so he could switch between them, and that was kind of his personality quirk. And in general, I kind of like adding those into my characters because I think it gives me something to play off a little bit. So my current character I'm playing, and we're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So, well, the character before this one, because I played 2 in this campaign so far. The first one I was playing was a druid wood elf, and his personality quirk for what I was trying to go for was he was kind of essentially like almost like Buddhist Jedi-like monk of nature. He actually ended up multi-classing into monk at some point. But the goal was he was supposed to be very attuned with nature, very balanced and peaceful. The only problem was I wasn't able to make him work the way I wanted to. And he came off a little bit more flat than I wanted to. So I ended up switching characters to a female half-elf rogue assassin. So her personality quirk is that she is a noble. So she's a noble lady in terms of, rank, title. She's royalty a little bit. And she kind of runs this dual life where during the day she's kind of like a proper prim princess, gossiping, all about the court life, while at night she's a rambunctious assassin. Well, I don't want to say rambunctious. She's this master assassin who kind of goes around killing people, but for the greater good. I tried to make her like a mix of Dexter and Batman. So she's not necessarily the most caring person, and she's not necessarily the most reserved when it comes to violence, but she also kind of has like a detective element to her, like Batman, where she investigates things and she tries to do things for the greater good. So a more apt description might actually be kind of like the Punisher, where she's more of like an anti-hero. She's not necessarily good, but she works towards the greater good. And I've had a lot of fun playing her, especially the fact that she kind of has to hide this other self to her. Everybody in the party knows about it, because it was just too difficult to try and play them outside of it. So I had to bring them in to make it work better, or at least I had to stop pretending around them as much. So the other characters in our session, for the player characters, know that she's this assassin, but it's fun playing her as this kind of giddy prim princess and this cold-hearted killer, and going back and forth and keeping people from finding out. And I've had a lot of fun with that. So other characters I've created that I've enjoyed playing. So I ran in a dragon-themed Dungeons and Dragons campaign where you started off as dragons and you actually had classes. And I played a dragon called Brogon, and his whole shtick was that he was also kind of a barbarian sorcerer, and he just liked to run things over. So he would charge and just run things over, yelling his name all the time. And that was a lot of fun, trying to collect gold, running things over. But I've played a number of characters. Most of the time what I find happens is when I'm doing these role-playing sessions, I don't necessarily do a lot of different groups. I generally kind of stick to one or two groups going on at any given time. For the past couple of years, mostly one. So I don't necessarily have a plethora of characters, but I do have a fair amount of characters I played a lot. And of course there's one-shots as well. Actually, for one-shot, I had this kind of mad scientist-themed guy, and he was a lot of fun. So his whole thing was that he was a mad scientist. He dealt with bringing things back from life. So he was like Frankenstein's, Frankenstein. And he was making Frankenstein's monsters. And he was a lot of fun for that one shot, because I got to play up the mad villain scientist aspect a little bit with the rest of the group. Let's see. In terms of the number of characters, I've played a couple of other ones, but none that I would really kind of say stand out as much as the ones I've mentioned, or as fresh in my head as some of the ones. Like I said, of the characters I've gotten to play, Thorin the Thunder Tamer is probably my favorite, because he's just this boisterous good doer, and he just carries a giant hammer, and he just goes around avenging people, and it was a lot of fun to play. Although the current character I have, whose name is Enna Amastasia, is definitely giving him a run for his money. I've definitely enjoyed playing a different aspect. So I'm so used to playing the Bruiser most of the time that it's actually fun to play a more sneaky character and do different things. But I've tried to avoid some of the tropes that other players get into when they play these kind of sneaky rogues where they're stealing from their party. They're all about the money. I tried to add a little bit more element to her where she, is actually trying to do this for the greater good, or at least the greater good as was drilled into her growing up as an assassin, a secret assassin. So, yeah. So those are the characters I've played. I also enjoy playing spellcasters because of their versatility. So when I get a chance to play a spellcaster, it's pretty fun because I always feel like there's always something for me to be doing that's relevant, and it's more battlefield control. So when I'm playing a magic user, I feel like I get to kind of be more strategic, whereas when I was playing, a more bruiser, you're generally just charging in all the time and fighting everybody. And my rogue also plays very similar in combat, so there's a bit of strategy about who she attacks, but she's still essentially always doing the same thing every turn. She's sneaking, attacking, sneaking, attacking, sneaking, and attacking. But the most fun I have with her is outside of combat, where I'm doing other things like convincing somebody that I'm not a noble warrior. That's another thing she does. She's a master of disguise. So she's portrayed a peasant farmer. She's portrayed a mercenary so far. A rich, spoiled merchant's wife. And the fun thing about that mechanic that I added in and that I really like is that it also gives me an opportunity to play around with other characters, because I can make her out to be almost any type of character. She's so good at disguising herself that I get to kind of add in and play out all these different personalities with her, and I greatly enjoy that. So yeah, she's been fun. I think she's probably going to end up replacing Thorin as my favorite character. I also do want to give a special shout out to Xavier Colarn, because he was my first character, the Star Wars character that I actually got me back into role-playing online. And that was a lot of fun because he was a psycho, and he was part of another group because they were all of the same class, which was this melee fighting everything class. And he was in a group of 4 people, and they were called the Psycho Brigade. It was fun because we could just be crazy all the time. So he holds a special place in my heart, and I definitely want to give a shout out to that because that was a very fun game I was in, and I played that game forever. I think I don't know if it's officially ended, but it kind of stopped getting updated, maybe like 3-4 years ago. But it was played up until then. Maybe not as regularly at the end, but in the beginning it was just so much fun, and I played for so many years. So he definitely holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, those are the characters I like to play. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, share, subscribe, and in the comments section, please tell me about any characters you've played in role-playing games, the types of characters you like to play, how you create them, because I'm interested in hearing that. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.